This is Short-Term Rental Management, the show that is all about short-term rental property management with your host, yours truly, Luke Carl.
This episode of the Short Term Show is brought to you by the Short Term Shop. 30-year fixed mortgages, tax benefits, and long-distance management training made easy are just a few of the perks of owning a short-term rental. The Short Term Shop can help you buy and learn how to manage your property from anywhere in the world. Just go to theshorttermshop.com and click Get Connected. Again, that's theshorttermshop.com, and we are brokered by eXp. See y'all over there.
We did it. Short-term rental management. Life is good. It's wonderful to be here in your presence, and thank you for hanging. We know you have a lot of choices as far as content is concerned. Seems there's a guy for everything these days, and we want to be your go-to for managing short-term rentals, 100%. If you're talking about single-family homes that people go stay in on vacation, this is the place. And of course, we're talking about doing it yourself. That's the general topic situation that we live and breathe here at Short-Term Rental Management. And I'm your host, long-haired Luke. I've been doing this a long time. I have the longest running Airbnb in the Smoky Mountains, somewhere around 5,000 reservations on my resume. I do have a co-host today, good friend of mine, Mr. Tim. Tim is badass, and one of the reasons I like Tim is he also has long-term rentals, which I'm a huge fan of. Of course, we don't talk about that too much here, but it is part of the culture. Tim, how you doing?
I thought it was because I had motorcycles.
Motorcycles do come in handy around here, 100%. And the hair.
No, I'm doing great today. Thanks for having me today. I always appreciate being on the show.
Motorcycles. You're from Iowa. I'm from Nebraska. It was a match made in heaven.
It's a bromance waiting to be a novel.
Romance. Yeah. And today we're going to talk about how to manage while you're on vacation, while you're deployed in the military, while you're anywhere but at home, and while you're working abroad, whatever the case may be.
This is perfect. I'm on vacation every day.
That's right, baby. Live the life. I'm sure there's a quote there. Live the life you want. I'm on vacation. My life is your vacation, or something like that. And I did drop my kids off at school today in this Metallica shirt, which is if you're a Metallica fan, this is their first album, Kill 'Em All, and that's just how we roll around here. And they actually asked me to chaperone the school field trip this coming Friday, and I said, well, maybe I won't wear the metal shirt, and they said, no, that's okay, you can do that. So, but yeah, anyway, for those of you that aren't watching on YouTube, today, short-term rental management from not necessarily a distance. We are saying now we can dabble in that. That's not what today's call is about, but we are saying that yes, you can do this from a distance. That should be fairly common knowledge at this point. I guess, Tim, I didn't even cross my mind to cover that subject today. I feel that people that are deep enough in this business should realize that you can do this from a distance, which brings me to today's topic, which is doing it on vacation, which in essence, aren't I just on vacation? Aren't I just managing from a distance while I'm on vacation? So what I want to specialize on today's call is like, how do I not be so present and enjoy my life? Because after all, we did get into real estate to enjoy life, right? I don't want to be stuck working for the man. That's how people find this to begin with. How do I make money without working? It's like the first thing that comes up. Buy real estate. It's a novel concept. All you need is $20 million in cash and you can quit your job, But, so, I think that really we could sum up today's conversation in just one thought, and that is just make sure your systems are in place, right?
Systems. It's all that. And if they're in place, you're ready to rock. And a lot of this, I'll admit, my systems are going to be different than yours, for sure. And ours are probably not as set up for being completely, offline, if you will. But, whatever you set up, use them all the time. And then when you do, want to check out or whatever, it's the same thing you've been doing. Obviously, we started off managing this remote everything. We live in the Smokies now, but we've continued manage these things just like we're remote. We're not we don't have to show up at our properties every day or every turn for this to work, and we have stuff in Gulf Shores and we only see those, whatever, once a year. But it's all because of the systems.
Yeah. So, and I should mention, we no reason to be shy here. Tim sells cabins in the Smokies. If you're interested, just find us at theshorttermshop.com. We'd love to help you. Not only am I the founder of the Hair Club for Men, I'm also a member, or whatever the hell that guy said. We're showing our age. We are the same age too. Same part of the world, same motorcycles, and same age. But anyway, you make a good point. This is about management. We are property managers. Something I think that a lot of some folks that have been doing this for 5 years don't even realize, or, maybe they think they realize it, but they don't really think about it. At the end of the day, if you've got a house on Vrbo, if you've got a house on Airbnb, what you are is a property manager. Okay. It's as simple as that. And you're going to manage different than I manage, and different than Joe manages and Johnny manages. Everybody manages differently. You're just looking for the same, we're looking for the same outcome. Happy guests, first and foremost. And of course, cash flow. But there's a lot of things that I can do differently that you can do different than what I do, and everybody can have success. The same thing with long-term rental.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about working how you want it to work into your life, and you need to kind of answer that question first. What do you want this to look like, and then that is how you architect your systems. You make your architect your systems to work how you want this to work around your life. If you enjoy talking to guests and stuff, which actually my wife loves that. She loves the hosting part. So she doesn't want to push that off, because that's what that's the enjoyment in it for her. So do that. If you're horrible at talking to people and you don't want to, and you sigh every time a message comes through, architect your systems differently so you're not the one doing that.
Yeah.
And that kind of leads into the conversation we're having today. You got to answer the question of what do you want first, and how do you want it to look like, and that's what you need to strive for.
So Tim and I are both motorhome people. He's in one right now. As a matter of fact, you can see if you're watching the show, and I have a motorhome as well. And so the first thing that comes to mind for me for being on vacation is the motorhome trip, because I do one every year that's about a month, and that's a lot. So let's dive into that in a second. I do want to strike a little preemptive on that, with the fact that, again, neither one of us have day jobs. So that is something to take into consideration. We don't have, quote unquote, like a W-2, no place to be at 9 o'clock in the morning, no water coolers. So we are, we're coming from a different perspective, I think, than a lot of folks, because I don't sound pompous here or anything, but to somebody who's going to work 9 to 5, we probably do actually look like we're on vacation all the time. But as you know, Tim, let's touch on that. 1099 life, in a lot of ways, is, I don't want to say more difficult, but there is an element there of holding yourself accountable, whereas if you're going to an office, your boss is doing that for you and things like that.
Yeah, I'll say though, I did have this helped me get away from that, but I did have a W-2 when we started this for the first couple of years. And so did my wife. So we both had very full-time gigs, and, places we had to be and all that. And I really think that actually helped us get a little more structured. When you do have that accountability, I've got to be here at whatever time, you kind of architect your systems around that. And, but yeah, again, it goes back to what I said before. It's what does your life, there's not going to be one recipe that we're going to spit out that's going to work for everybody. But there's ideas that we're going to throw out there for sure. So.
Yes, 100%, so that is something to consider, and maybe we'll do another call on that at some point, that there is a difference in a lot of ways between W-2 and 1099. I also had a W-2 for many years. It wasn't a 9 to 5 situation, but it was a W-2. As far as the tax man's concerned, we were the same thing. So, something to consider there. We have positioned our lives in such a way where we can, have some sort of freedom here and there, but it does come with, 1099 comes with, you never know when this stuff's going to happen. Any kind of
1099, you're really more susceptible to having to be on all the time, because you got to be ready to take that next call for whatever it is, whether it's this or, most 1099 people have more than one gig, as do both you and I,
Yeah.
so there's always something going on. So you're always a little more 24/7, if you will.
Yeah. So dare I say, I mean, again, there's pluses and minuses on either category. Because again, we got to talk about our jobs before we can go on vacation, right? Well, going on vacation from what? Okay, so that's what we're getting to the point right now is the day job. And you're right. There might be multiple 1099s, and I've got multiples, and the difference is we don't have, and I think my point is the W-2, you can turn it off, right?
Right.
Hey, Mr. Boss Man, I'm going on vacation. I will not be available from this day until this day. You cannot do that, period, in 1099. And dare I say that makes going on vacation more difficult in some aspects. My kids almost expect me to be stuck to that damn phone, and that stinks, and I am, just in life trying to move myself away from my kids seeing me on my phone all the time. But it's just part of it. or 1099 life, yeah.
And I think that's I think there's a little bit, and this could probably be a whole other show too. There's definitely an e-myth evolution that happens in being an entrepreneur and a 1099 worker. I mean, when you're at the technician and entry level, you're on the phone all the time. And as you grow and build systems and bring more people into your organization, that's when you start to be able to have more time, because ultimately you're going to shift from a doer to a manager, and the more you get to being the manager, the more time you're going to have to, be off your phone and be more present. So, yeah.
Now, dare I say, if you're sitting there saying, how am I going to handle my short-term rental while I'm on vacation? It really kind of, to me, is as simple as the fact that you're not ready. You're not doing it right yet. And that's okay. You maybe are just new and don't realize that there are little tips and tricks you can do to kind of space yourself from this property. And it is scary when you're new. So, but again, I think we can round up this entire conversation, this entire call with that statement. If you feel like you can't go on vacation because of this property or 2 or 3 properties, you're doing it wrong, quite frankly.
Yeah, you need to work on your systems if that's the case.
Systems need to just tweaks. And dare I say, once you get past the 3 or 4 properties, once you get up to 5, 6, 7, the systems become easier. Because
they repeat.
They repeat. And you got this, you don't have to make 16 phone calls to get one thing done. You got guys that already know who you are. You've got a book of business with a lawn care guy, with a plumber. They know who you are when you call. When you only got 1 or 2 or 3 properties, you're not calling often enough to get what you need out of these guys. And again, Tim and I are long-term rental people. I think Tim will agree. Nobody on the planet wants 77 short-term rentals. It's just not, and not if they're vacation homes in a vacation market. I don't. But we do have. I've got dozens and dozens of long-term rentals. So and if you have them near where your short terms are, or whatever, maybe it's the same. It's still just a damn house or apartment at the end of the day. So again, to reiterate, if you feel that way, I hate to tell you, tough love here on short-term rental management, tough love. If you feel like you can't go on vacation because of this property, you're not doing it right. The day job should be much more difficult to get away from than 1 or 2 little, properties on Verbo. Am I right about that?
Yeah, and I agree. And I also say, it can be a little bit of a progression. Maybe your first vacation isn't as hands off as you want, but you learn what happens that you didn't like on your vacation because you're messing with this house, and you fix it. And then the next time you go, it's better. And the next time you go, it's better. And so don't think you got to go from like 0 to 100 in one step. But I definitely agree that this is definitely an asset class and a business that you can go on an effective vacation on, for sure.
Right. And you're 100% right. It doesn't need to be overnight. Okay. Maybe step your way into it, get there. And I'll be honest, man, as again, at 1099 in some capacity, basically my whole life, I've never had a 9 to 5 in my whole life. You get to the point where at least I do, where I feel guilty putting my phone down because that means I'm not working. And that is the downside. That is the biggest downside of not having a W-2 of a day job, because you leave at 5 o'clock for the most part. Now, again, lawyers, doctors, that's a whole different thing. You can turn a switch and turn it off. That's the beauty of a W-2, and 1099, I'm struggling with this now and reading books and trying to figure out ways to get out from underneath it. Is just being able to walk away and breathe the fresh air and see the sunlight and the birds in the trees, and so to me, if I'm on vacation, my life doesn't really change that much. I'm just different surroundings. And that's part of it. 1099, it is definitely, it is conducive to travel in general. The type of people that don't want to have a day job can't have a day job. They generally travel more anyway. Now, does the W-2 guy, it's a different experience. The W-2 guy is like, oh, I'm free. I can do whatever I want. I can wake up late and blah, 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 and then the 1099 guy, at least me, I'm like, I'm still waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning on vacation, you feel that too? Or are you able to turn a switch and flip it off?
No, I can't really turn a switch. To me, I've had to kind of relearn what vacation is, and you kind of nailed it a little bit. It's different surroundings for me. My daily routine is I don't see a big reason to change that, because it's not like, right now, if I wanted to sleep in, I could sleep in, that can happen about any day, so the changing routine isn't as much of a thing for me. Like going on vacation is about seeing new things and being in new places more than it is changing up my routine a bunch. So
back to the motorhomes. I'm getting ready for my motorhome trip. We go every summer for a month or two, or a month, give or take. And it is it's awesome. It's life-changing. It's amazing. It is stressful. I'm not going to lie. I've got 2 little kids, and little enough that they, scream and throw fits and things like that. And it can be stressful. And I'm driving that big rig, 8-10 hours a day.
Cause you need to bring me along to be your driver, man.
Yeah. You need to be my driver. Cause I'll tell you right now, Avery, she likes to go. Dude, we can't stay in one place for more than one night. So that's something I got to work on with her, because she's go. She grew up in a motorhome, right?
It's a lot of work, man. That's a lot of tear down.
Yeah, dude, just to put the damn jacks down and put them back up.
Yeah.
It's like,
hook the Jeep up.
We just got here. Now you're making me go put the damn Jeep back on, and it's raining outside. And she's like, let's go.
Make sure the brake's not stuck on something.
Oh, dude, I can't tell you how many times I pulled out with the emergency brake on the Jeep, but and you don't even find out until the next stop. But
there's always some antennas up. The antenna's still up. Yeah. What's that smell?
What's that smell? Wait a minute. Slow down. So anyway, but okay. So it starts for me. It depends on motorhome versus are we going on an airplane? That's a big difference. Are we driving or are we flying? There is a big difference there, because there's a certain part where you're gonna have to just if you're going to Spain, you're gonna be away for a while, at least on that airplane, and then when you get there, you don't know if the service is going to be spotty or if your phone's even going to work and stuff like that. So internet's a big part of it, right? If we're doing a checklist for today's call, I think the first thing on that would be internet. Do I even want internet? Again, I think what most people that are going to get into this topic are worried that they're not going to be able to be present enough. So they're worried about getting the internet. And dare I say, let's play devil's advocate there. Maybe I don't want the damn internet, maybe I'm shutting it off, but again, going on a motorhome for a month, I don't care what kind of person you are, you need internet in that bus, and that Tim's in an Airstream right now. And so, there's tons of options out there for that. Obviously the Elon option is the one that everybody's talking right now. We're not here to compare different types of internet for traveling, but
I will say I've gotten to where we take our internet with us everywhere. Whether we're in the motorhome or the Airstream, or whether we're even if we go on a car trip, we got to where we're taking our internet in the car with us everywhere. And it just, all the hotels and stuff have internet too, but it just made our lives easier just to have ours everywhere. Once you kind of get used to that, you can do whatever you need to rolling down the road no matter what you're in. So that's been a game changer for us. And actually, a lot of the new cars it's just kind of starting, but a lot of the new vehicles are starting to come with internet option. So
yes. Most of them are going to have, newer, decent car is going to have internet. It's not cheap. You got to pay for it. It's not the greatest on the planet either. It's just cell internet, from AT&T usually, but it'll work. You can definitely get on your computer. Did you know there's actually a company that will help you find and purchase your first or next short-term rental? The Short Term Shop is the premier short-term rental acquisition company. They have a team of realtors with tons of experience, and most of them actually own their own properties as well. They are the best in the business and would be happy to help you with your next purchase. You can find them at theshorttermshop.com, brokered by EXP. Theshorttermshop.com. Another thing you can do is, make sure you got good internet, obviously, and there's some options out there. Starlink is the Elon one. That's getting bigger and bigger. If you're using a lot of data on that, from what I understand, it starts to get expensive. But I think that is the future. His companies are generally very, hip to what's next, that kind of thing. And I think he's going to get ahead of that. And I could see that in everybody's home at some point, But and another thing you can do is hire somebody. Maybe hire somebody in your family to be a team member on your. On Airbnb, you can add a team member or a co-host. They're really honestly kind of the same damn thing, that's where it gets weird. On it, Vrbo, you can't do that. So you're basically just giving somebody your username and password.
Your login, right?
Yeah, give them your password or change your password to something that you don't care that they have. Because again, Vrbo is traditionally not as technology driven as Airbnb is, most of us have management softwares, so you could just add somebody as a team member on your management software. They don't even need your Vrbo login at that point. They can do all the Vrbo stuff right from your Guesting for Host, right from your Hospitable, whatever it is, and then they can have their own username and password just like your cleaner does. And you can, think of it like house sitting. It's like you're house sitting your house. I'm going on the road for 3 weeks. I'm going to be around a little bit. I don't really want to be around too much because I'm trying to really enjoy life here. My hair's not getting any less gray. You know what I mean? So why don't I pay you $500 for the month, and you handle these 3 properties? You handle all my messages. Something weird happens or something gets a little hairy, you let me know. But otherwise, I just need you to respond to guests. Now, if it's something that you don't understand, shoot me a text. But if they say, whatever, how do I get to the restaurant? Just Google it for them. Really, most of this stuff you can just find on Google. So,
And we're actually working on this year we're working on writing a full SOPs, standard operating procedures for all of our properties. We want this thing to run like, consistency wise in our messaging, and this may just be us being a little bit anal, but we want it like McDonald's. We want the same experience for every guest and everything. So in that, kind of the homework ahead of, adding a co-host or whatever, we have a person that we use. We basically want to be able to hand them a playbook, and say, this is how you handle all these different situations. And outside of that playbook, if something comes up, if you aren't comfortable, exactly what you said, then you get a hold of me. And generally something like that, you're kind of getting towards, it's either they need to call 911 sometimes, or it's something that may not be super urgent, but and then we also alert, our major boots on the ground people. We have each of our markets, we have we have our cleaners, which is our hub of everything, and then we have usually a preferred handyman type person that is also can help us in an emergency. If our contact person needs to get hold of this person and that person couldn't take care of whatever's going on, they're going to know somebody to call. So really those kind of 3 things, our person take care of the front end, and then 2 back end people can really handle everything once you get it all kind of structured. And you build those relationships over time. That's not something that happens with one phone call, but as you have a relationship built with your cleaners and your handymen and your contractors and all that, they know who you are. So, and
do I need to train this person before I go on the road? I'm sitting here thinking about that. Hey, Patty, I'm thinking about that. And I'm like, if I'm new, I only got 2 or 3 properties. I mean, really, you could probably throw somebody into the fire and just say, hey, just make sure this person's happy. Even if you don't have the answer, say, I'm not really sure, but I'll find out for you, or you can probably bring them on 2 months ahead of time and train them that way. But I think either way could kind of work.
Oh, for sure. With a 1 or 2 or even 3. I mean, you can really, I mean, you can throw the right person in the fire right away. And honestly, and now that's kind of goes back to what I said earlier in the walk before you run. It almost, you're not completely shut off in this circumstance, but like if they're taking care of like 60% and you're taking care of 40% while you're on the road, they're taking care of all the immediate stuff that needs to happen right away. That's pretty easy. And like honestly, a lot of it, most of the stuff, let's be real, isn't that hard. I mean, the odds that you're going to get some kind of crazy, something that happens during your vacation is probably good. That's just Murphy's law. but I mean, what's your day to day really look like? I mean, it's not any harder than you usually make it for yourself. If people are asking, where your crock pot's at, maybe put that in your listing or do something, get upstream of everything. And, the more robust your front end is before you go on vacation, the easier it is when you go on vacation, because there's just that much less that anybody's going to have to deal with as far as your helper goes.
100%. Love it. As that brings me to my next point, which is just tell your guests you're on vacation. Just tell them. They're on vacation too. They're going to think you're cool because you're like this hip, cool Verbo Airbnb host that gets to go to Spain or whatever the hell. And they're going to be, now there's sometimes
that just made me think of something else. And in that same note, automated messages. So you can have an automated message that is exactly that, but also, for whoever it is helping you. And again, this goes to helping yourself. It all is kind of hand in hand for me, because if you get this thing to where it can run when you're on vacation, you can pretty much do that whenever. But you can create a lot of templates in your software program that are for a lot of different situations. And if you do that and they're sitting there, that makes your co-host life super easy. Oh, this happened. Oh, there's a message for it. Boom. Just send that out, so, and that's something that helps you on the day to day anyway. If you're writing the same message 5 times a month, you need to have a template for that, or fix it upstream, preferably fix it upstream. But there's certain messages that we have templates for that are just nice to have.
I fix it upstream. I fixed it upstream with my guidebook. I'm sitting here thinking, man, I can't remember the last time I had to answer the same question for the 5th time. And it's because of my guidebook, right? So I use TouchStay and I love it, and it's a lot of work, and not a lot of people don't look at it. But if they do ask me some stupid question that I hear all the time, I can say,
you just send them that link.
Boom, here's the link to the guidebook, and shame on you for it wasn't my fault. I showed you where it was. Now you don't want to rub it in their face. It's not hospitable, but
I think that's a lot of the answer, though, and what we're talking about. Again, you have that when you have all that stuff set up well, that makes life easy for anybody to take your spot when you're not there. So,
yes, take my spot when I'm not there. That's what it's all about. I've got so many books to talk about at the end of this show. I'm writing them all down here. Okay. Tell them you're on vacation. Just tell them. Same thing if you're deployed in the military. I get that all the time. Well, how am I going to manage this property if I'm in the military? If my brother-in-law's in the Navy, and we get a lot of military clients, and at the short-term shop, and we're very proud of it. My dad went to Vietnam twice. A lot of military in my family and yours as well. And and my answer there is I just tell them. I don't think you want to tell them. Same with being on vacation. I wouldn't say, hey, I'm in Germany right now. Hey, I'm on vacation in Spain. I'm deployed in the military in Japan, because you do want to give somewhat of an illusion that you're kind of around, give or take. But I would just tell them, say, hey, I'm traveling right now. I'll be back. You make it feel like you'll be back real soon. But like at this moment, I'm not available. Or if, again, back to the military thing, if you're in the military, they're going to understand that you have weird hours and obligations. And maybe you don't tell them that you're, again, back in Germany or Japan, but you say, hey, I'm in the military. Sometimes my response rate is going to be a little slow. And please bear with me. Ain't a person on the planet. You can have the biggest jackass guest on the planet. They're still going to understand and respect that,
Right.
So, and back to the being on vacation, just, dude, hey, I'm on vacation. Just let them know. Again, this is what I always say, let them know before it happens. So if you're getting ready to leave and you're worried, which again, I don't even know that I would do this because I'm really not too particularly worried about my guests knowing where I'm at or caring. But if you are worried, hit them with it before you leave. Just hit all your guests. Let's say you got like 4 guests coming up while you're on vacation. Just hit those 4 people and say, hey, I'm going to be, a little touch and go because I'm going to be traveling for the next, while you're at the property. I will be available, but, don't expect me to be coming to tuck you in at night and things like that. And dare I say, we shouldn't be giving that impression anyway. It's as much as I want to err on the side of hospitality. Just read a book on this. As a matter of fact, I got so many books to talk about at the end of this show. And this book was about the guy who owns 11 Madison Park, #1 restaurant in the world for a couple of years. His whole thing was kissing everybody's ass. They go out to smoke a cigarette. You go out and you put a little cup in their hand with some whiskey in it and stuff like that. And yeah, it would be awesome if we could do that stuff. But again, this is a single family home. It's not scalable. Being that like on top of these folks is not scalable. You can't build a front desk in the front yard of this house and like just answer the phone and give them everything they want all the freaking time. In exchange, they're getting a big, beautiful house where their entire family can stay in one house, and they have a kitchen where they can prepare meals. And I think for the most part, most people don't even want us to be around. They want their privacy. But every now and then you get the folks that they feel like they want you up their ass, for lack of a better way to put it. So just say, hey, I'm not gonna be available to be up your ass here for the next 3 or 4 days, just so you know. And I think setting that expectation can help tremendously as far as, your guests getting mad at you or not.
No, I agree. Upfront expectations is huge.
Yeah. Let them know what they're getting into before they get there. It's all about is a huge part of this business is setting expectations. And along those same lines, dare I say, it's somewhere probably around 90%. Okay, I'm making this number up. There's somebody out there going to listen to this and say, Luke's a terrible host. Well, go look at my reviews. I mean, they're impeccable. I have the most and the best reviews in all of my markets. And I don't know how I do it, quite frankly, but it just, I pull it off. I mean, I am not like the sweet lady that delivers cookies to the front door to every guest. But people love my houses, and they're for one thing, they're kick-ass houses, and that's a big part of it. But dare I say, I'm finally going to get to my point. Dare I say, it's got to be somewhere around 80, maybe 90% of the time that the best response is no response. How do you feel about that? Do you give to your guests, or do you give them breathing room?
We give them breathing room. And that's, my wife and I are a little bit different on that. Like I said, she likes talking to people. I mean, so she gets a little bit chattier than I would in messages, but in general, we very careful not going in being super chatty. It's very straightforward. This is what and most people just kind of follow suit with that, and most of our guests, honestly, I mean, at this point, with the way everything's set up, most of our guests come and go, and we have zero interaction with them. I mean, let's like I said, let's be real earlier. I mean, I don't know the percentage, 80, 90%, there's nothing. I mean, they come and go, and that's the best. I mean, that means if they come and go and leave a good review, that means you fed them all the information they needed to have enjoyable and successful vacation in your house. And, that's kind of what we strive for. So.
And there are going to be the people that you can't make happy. Again, that might be a whole podcast in itself.
But I don't want to paint the picture that every single guest we're talking to, because we're not. I mean, we're automated messaging them, but we're not lifting up our phone, on every guest for sure.
I'm somewhere between you and Patty, and to me, it depends on, because I'm a very chatty individual to begin with. But it has to be a vibe. Some of these people, even though you've got a screen in between the two of you, you're like, right, man, I got nothing in common with this person. This is, you know what I mean? And for the most part, I don't do messages anyway. I've got somebody full time that does that. Sounds like your wife is in charge of the messaging. Is that how you're doing it?
Absolutely. She doesn't let me even do it.
Right. Yeah. And she's right.
No, that's kind of a joke, but no, she enjoys that role, and she is taking it on. She does great with it. And you just said something that, you said you're right between me and her, and I would agree with that. And she struggles sometimes with the not like there may be a cultural difference or just whatever, like she the screen gets in her way a little bit sometimes because she thinks like everybody thinks like her a little bit, and but she does great with it. She does a fantastic job.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, guys, if you feel like you can't go on vacation, you're not running your business right. You need to have it to the point where you can just go at all times and let it run, man. It needs to be, a well-oiled machine. So let's talk about book recommendations. I'm going to go running. I've been recommending this one a lot lately. I just finished it, the restaurant book that I can never remember the name of. Hold on, let me pull that up. Unreasonable Hospitality. Great book. I highly recommend it. It has nothing to do with, I thought it was going to be about hotels, honestly, when I first downloaded it. I'm an Audible guy. Great book, though. Great book. And I'm going to close the show today with a quote from that book. But you already mentioned the E-Myth, which is a must read if you're just getting into this world of making your life better.
Yeah, you have to read the E-Myth, in my opinion. That's one of the top 5, in my opinion.
Oh, top 5 for sure. 100% top 5 for me. I've got about 30 books in my top 5, but that's one of them.
It's funny. We're doing this podcast today. I actually just started a book the other day, and I'm not very deep into it, but it's Redeeming Your Time is the name of the book.
Okay, listen, look at you. You just made my time.
Jordan Rayner, Redeeming Your Time.
And you're enjoying it.
Yeah, so far. I'm just getting into it. So
okay, I look forward to it. I'll put that in my queue. I just started a book this morning. I'll put that in my queue. Peak performance. This came up today several times as far as being too connected to your phone. This is a tremendous book. Basically for high-level individuals, CEO type folks, people running big companies that are, achieving at a high level. And that book really opened my mind. Not that I'm doing that. I'm not saying that, but that book opened my mind. Maybe I am, but to, work-life balance. You got to be able to step away from the phone occasionally. And that book really helped me with that. Turn it, like just simple little stuff like don't touch your phone after 6 p.m. kind of thing. So Peak Performance, check that one out. We also talked about making sure your business runs perfectly, flawlessly. Dare I say your business runs like clockwork, which is the name of another book by Mike Michalowicz. You guys, you're getting all the good stuff today.
Love Mike Michalowicz stuff.
Huge fan.
And then we touched on this too, but upstream. Everything, if you get upstream of everything before you go on vacation, it's going to make your vacation a lot easier. So
absolutely. Upstream, a fantastic book that changed my life. And then I got another one for you. This is becoming a book podcast today, which is fine. Who Not How. I think this book is a little dangerous. I'm not going to lie. Because what happens is it's almost like 4-hour work week. Same vibe. You're like, oh, I'm going to read this book and never do anything the rest of my life. Well, no, it doesn't work like that. If you want to do, it's like Office Space. Take my cousin. He's broke. Don't do shit. You know what I mean? That's what, if you don't want to do anything, you're going to be broke and sitting there not doing anything. But if you're good at running and running a team, running a company, being a leader, you need books to help you be better at that, which is what I got out of 4-hour work week. It's not, you can't take I'm going to work 4 hours a week and go sit on a beach thing away from that. You got to be like, okay, I'm doing all this stuff wrong. And I could basically compress all the important stuff I'm doing down to 4 hours. And then you got free up all this other time to go kick more ass. Right.
That's exactly the key I get from that stuff is like, when I first started thinking about leaving the W-2 job, it was all about, I'm going to be able to go sit on a beach all day long and drink Mai Tais, and I quickly learned about myself that would never work. So it all does become about like optimizing your business, creating all this free time. And then I do it over. For me, it's a rinse, recycle, repeat thing, and it's like, once you get something nailed down and running super efficient and you get a team going and everything, then you have time to go do it again, something else. So.
I'm going to throw another one out there on the same subject because we're talking about it. There's a book called 12-Week Year, which is the exact same thing. It's basically like how to, you thought it was going to take you a year to do all this stuff. Well, I'm going to show you how to do that in a quarter. So then you got 3/4 of the year left to go kick more ass. I really like that. It's not a very well-known book. And again, it's just there's so many books out there with like numbers in the title, 7 habits and all this stuff. But 12-Week Year, I really enjoyed that. Anything else to cover today before we go out the door? If I'm going on vacation, I'm stressed out about my properties. What do I, any final thoughts?
My final thoughts are take a deep breath, look at what you're really doing on your vacation and what's going to, what would like ruining your vacation even look like? Because don't let it ruin your vacation. But before you let it, just like if something happens, it's not going to be the end of the world. You're going to get through it, and you have to learn from your mistakes. So don't be afraid of getting into this vacation, into this business because of that. But once you're in the business, don't be afraid to go on vacation. You got to do it. You got to take care of your family. You got to take care of yourself. So do it. If it's not perfect the first time, learn from it and move on and go on vacation again.
Absolutely. I'm going to leave you guys with a quote today, which has come up multiple times in my life this week. I actually wrote this quote down when I read it in a book that we already mentioned, which was Unreasonable Hospitality. The gentleman that wrote that book, which is Will Guidara, if I'm pronouncing that right. Sorry, Will. He said it, and then I went to see John Wick 4. Came out, recently, and I'm a huge John Wick fan, and I'm not going to even mention the movie, but you need to watch it. It's amazing. I love me some John Wick. This quote was in that movie, and I'm like, holy crap. This, I just wrote it down 2 days before I went to see the movie. So the quote is, if I can read it on my BHAG board up here, the way you do one thing is the way you do anything. And I sit there and think about that, and I'm like, holy crap. Are there things that I'm doing in life that I'm like half-assing? Am I mediocre over here? Or, because it's totally related. If I'm kicking ass as a dad, I'm kicking ass as a husband. If you're sucking as a dad, you're sucking as they're all related. The way you do one thing is the way you do everything. I love that quote from John Wick.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So we'll leave you with that today on short-term rental management. Long hair Luke Carl on behalf of Tim Grillo. We love you very much, and please leave us a review. We're in the damn review business, folks. So please hit us with a quick 5-star on wherever you're listening, Apple Podcasts or wherever it may be. And we love you, and we'll see you next Tuesday.